What's up everyone? Welcome back to Redtone Studio. I am Red and today we're diving deep into the FiFine's latest XLR mic, the FiFine Tank1. You might remember I reviewed the Tank3 not too long ago and you can find that video over here. I found that it was a great budget mic for say streamers or creators, but the Tank1? Now this is a completely different beast. There's no USB, no onboard interface, and a higher price tag than the Tank3. So really, what's the deal? FiFine is clearly going after the Shure SM7B crowd with this one. Full disclosure, FiFine sent me this mic to review for free of charge. They don't have anything to say about the outcome of the video, and all of these thoughts are my own. So let's unbox it, test it, and compare it, and find out if the Tank1 is worth the money. So alright, let's start with the claims on the box. First we have XLR mic interface, intelligent noise reduction, we'll see what that means, a mid-boost switch, let's see, some on the outside, all metal body, low cut switch, cardioid pattern, anti-electromagnetic noise, clean and crisp sound quality, and heavy duty tank weight. Now, this thing is heavy. They were really bragging about that on the outside of the box, and they aren't lying. We've got a full metal construction, which is better than similar budget mics where everything is plastic, but with this amount of weight, I'm a bit worried about mic stands and balance. Make sure you have a decent boom arm or stand if this is what you're going with. Let's see, what else? You get a thread adapter for boom arms or mic stands that aren't US standard. It's really simple, no frills, but it fits the mic theme here. The mic really isn't trying to be flashy. No colors, no lights, really minimalist, and hopefully nice sounding. You also find a user guide, but if you're buying this mic, odds are you already know what you're doing. So that goes into the file cabinet. So let's talk build. The Tank1 has a broadcast style look, matte black, low reflection finish, a thick grill that isn't going to easily get smashed. Honestly, I think this looks better than the big bulky SM7B that you see on every podcast. It's smaller in size and doesn't have that large foam windscreen on it. We'll have to see if it sounds just as good as it looks. The XLR port is snug fitting, it's tight. There are no controls or flashing buttons on the mic body like the Tank3, which I have sitting here. But there are two tone switches here on the bottom. Just like the SM7B, which we will get into later, FiFine has made a standard design choice here on the Tank1 with the inclusion of two tone shaping switches on the bottom of the mic. First, we've got a low cut filter, sometimes called a high pass. This switch rolls off some of the deep bass frequencies. Perfect for cutting that rumble, desk noise, or taming boominess in a deeper voice. Second, there is a mid-boost switch that gives your vocals a subtle lift in the mid-range, right around the presence area, at least we hope, which should help your voice stand out in a crowded mix, over background music, or helping your speech be more understandable in a podcast setting. Now these are simple analog tone controls, no DSP, no menu diving, just flip a switch and go. And honestly, I really hope that they are incredibly useful. Hopefully they will let you tune this mic to whatever your voice needs before you even hit record. This could save you a lot of time in post and should offer you more flexibility. We'll compare this to the SM7B later and see how these switches hold up. So first, let's compare this Tank1 with its sibling, the Tank3. The Tank3, as I pull it over, is your all-in-one solution. XLR, USB, onboard monitoring, headphone jack. It's made for creators on a budget. Great plug-and-play performance for streamers, podcasters, and remote workers. Make sure you go check out my review for this one. Now, the Tank1 though is stripped down. Like I mentioned, XLR only, no USB, no DSP, no monitoring, but I don't think this is a downside. It's by design. This is a mic for people who already have an interface or a mixer and want pure, hopefully uncolored signal with some analog tone options. This fits better in a recording studio situation like mine, where you might not want to spring for the much more expensive SM7B. So this could be a good option, but we'll see later. Let's run through some quick tests for a podcast style situation. So far, all of my vocals that I've been talking or what you've been listening to has come off of this mic up here just out of screen. That's a Match 040 from Lewitt, and that's picking up my vocals. From now on, we will plug in the FiFine and we'll see how it goes. First off, let's run through some quick tests for a podcast type situation. We're going to start with plosives. This has the switch set to flat. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Now with the low switch off. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Now with the mid switch. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Now, talking from the side and from behind, you'll notice that it stays focused on the front with great background rejection. This is to be expected from a cardioid mic and is great if you're recording in a room that isn't very well treated. Now you might have heard already the handling noise, tapping the stand, the mount, and adjustment. Very little mechanical noise transfers when I tap on it or adjust the mic as needed. So now let's jump in and do some real world comparisons. Like I mentioned, you're hearing me on the Tank1, raw, no post-processing, both switches set now to normal. I'm running through my QU16 mixer from Allen & Heath, which acts as my interface. I have set it to 30 dB a gain, which is usually a bit lower than I have in SM57, but it is recording lower. There is no phantom power needed as this is a dynamic microphone. I have the Tank3 and also my SM7B set up here to quickly do a side-by-side test. Here is the Tank3 through the same digital mixer. Here I also don't have phantom power on to power the mic, and again I have it set at 30 dB of gain. Now the Shure SM7B. Same setup with phantom power off and at 30 dB of gain. The signal is also very low. And usually I run this with a cloud lifter, but that would of course add another $100 to that setup. This is a test of all three of these mics, set to relatively the same input level in my DAW as it comes out of my Allen & Heath digital mixer. Please like and subscribe for more content like this. So here's what I'm hearing. The Tank1 gives you kind of a tight, controlled mid-range, but a lot more low end than the other two mics. The Tank3 has more of a pre-EQ'd sound, a lot more mid-range, which could be great for gaming and content, but not as natural sounding for studio work. The SM7B is kind of right in the middle. It's smooth and classic, but it really needs a ton of clean gain to really shine. And that's where that cloud lifter comes in. But of course that adds cost and complexity. I think the Tank1 really holds its own in this lineup, especially as we roll off the lows. So now let's get the Tank3 out of here and directly shoot this out with the SM7B. I've already moved the low cut switch on the Tank1 down. So how does this sound between the two? Check 1 2, check 1 2. Check 1 2, check 1 2. Now this is with the SM7B flat, and the Tank1 has a roll-off and the presence boost. If you'd like to hear this on more sources, let me know, and this could be a separate video later. So, where does the Tank1 fit in? For podcasting, I think it's fantastic. You get the clarity, good rejection, and control. For streaming, if you've already got an audio interface, this is an easy upgrade, though it isn't the easiest choice as something like the Tank3 or the Shure MV7 that has that built-in interface and monitoring. For voiceovers, I think it really shines here. That mid-boost can make a big difference. Now, instrument recording, it's not just for vocals. It could handle guitar amps and drums, Well, probably with the proper placement and setup, just like the SM7B. It's not an all-in-one solution like the Tank 3, but if you're serious about audio, the Tank 1, this one, fits right into a budget starting out type workflow. So, speaking of that, let's talk price. Right now, the Tank 1 costs more than the Tank 3, which might seem weird since it has less onboard tech. But really, you're paying for analog signal quality, supposedly better components, and that broadcast-ready voicing, not convenience. The SM7B, of course, is still the gold standard, but the Tank 1 gets surprisingly close. Both of these are probably going to need a signal booster if you're using them in a recording studio, but still a fraction of the cost to the SM7B. A few questions popped up. Can I use the Tank 1 with a budget interface? I would say yes and no. It'll probably work just fine on something like a Focusrite 212 or 2i2 or similar. But if you have no interface, then your best bet is to pick up the Tank 3. Is it better than the Tank 3? I would say absolutely, just the sound quality alone. So if you've got a full setup and you want that cleaner sound, Tank 1 hands down. Does it work for vocals and singing? Well, you'll have to let me know if you want me to do a video on that. But I think it is a great addition to a budget recording studio. This and an MXL V67G will take you a long way. Use the low cut and add some EQ in post, and it can sound really good. So here is the bottom line. The FiFine Tank1 is a purpose-built XLR mic that punches way above its price. It's not flashy, it's not plug and play, but it does sound quite good. It has some smart tone shaping options, and it doesn't need expensive accessories to really shine. If you've already got an interface and you're looking for a mic that gives you that clean, warm, studio-ready vocals, this is seriously a good deal. If you need the flexibility or USB, stick with that Tank 3. If you want the industry classic and have cash to spare, of course, grab the SM7B. But for most creators, the Tank 1 hits that sweet spot between affordability and pro-grade sound. Alright, that's the deep dive on the FiFine Amplitank Tank 1. Got any questions? Drop them below. I respond to as many as I can. Hit like if I've helped you out. Subscribe for more real-world gear reviews. I'm Red, this is Redtone Studio, and I'll catch you in the next one.